Okay, but did you stop and say, hey, it's me?
No, it's so funny because I hadn't seen them in years. Like, they didn't recognize me. They were like, "You are glowing. What's your secret?" And I said, "Honey, I'm healing."
Welcome back to Honey, I'm Healing. This is one of your co-hosts, Irina.
And this is one of your co-hosts, Renee. And we are so excited to join you again this week.
Yeah. How has your week been?
You know, it's been okay. I rediscovered the song No Air by Jordan Sparks today.
Love that.
I think I've been chasing the feeling that song gives me for longer than I care to admit. It just kind of brought me back to like being in MySpace days. Did you ever have a MySpace?
Yep. I miss that so much.
What were some of your MySpace songs?
I think I had like a lot of popular rap Christian songs because I was super into Christian rap, and like my username was like Only God Can Judge Me and like JC Dance Freak, like Jesus Christ Dance Freak. So
I'm obsessed with that. Oh my gosh.
and then I had like those big Bootylicious sparkly stickers.
You had to. That was like the icon that like glittered.
Yeah. And then I was like an HTML pro coder and everything.
Semicolon. I mean, we all learned computer coding because of that. I mean, I can remember one of my MySpace songs was Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis. That was like right when that song came out. And then my then boyfriend and our song was, I think it was With Me by Sum 41. And so that was my MySpace song for a little bit, but You Better Believe No Air was one of them. And it just brought me back. And I really enjoyed that.
You know what's funny? So MySpace was what, 2006?
7, yeah, like in there.
2006, 7? Mm-hmm. You had a boyfriend. I didn't have my first boyfriend until 2012.
Really? Okay, so no, my first boyfriend and I were so awkward. Oh my gosh.
What do you even do?
We just texted the whole time, and like we avoided contact and any kind of contact at school. Like we did not exist to one another at school. And then we were both so painfully shy that it was like anytime we were with each other, like our cheeks would just be bright red.
Oh, that's so funny.
He was a good one. He was a great first boyfriend. We dated until junior year of high school. So we dated for, well, since like the beginning of 8th grade to junior year. So 4 years.
Are you guys still friends?
I haven't talked to him in, no. I think we're friends on Facebook, but
I feel like those are the type of people you can stay friends with, like, endless.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you're so young that like it doesn't even matter. No heartbreak there.
So, wait a minute. Did you marry your first boyfriend?
That's Christian dating for you.
You know what? So much about you makes sense now. And just
really?
Just like, well, like just about the conversations about purity culture that we've had, and just like literally so much of that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Things are clicking.
So now that we've kind of dipped our toes into dating, we can go ahead and start talking about embodying our feminine. That's what we're going to talk about today.
This is so fun for me because I know that you and I have had so many sidebar conversations about this topic, and specifically for me, how I wasn't raised to really embrace femininity. And after having conversations with other women, like at least in my friend circle, this was a really common occurrence where our mothers or the like elder women in our life didn't really teach us how to be a woman.
Mm.
And not, I'll take that back. They didn't teach us how to be feminine.
Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're going with that. When you actually like think about it, it probably sounds a lot more complicated than it really is to be in your feminine. And it's really not, but like you said, it's not a subject that's talked about. We're mainly taught it by what is modeled to us, behavior that's modeled, conversations, communication, relationships with, our mom and dad and other people we see in relationships, but or how women we look up to, how they treat themselves, like our aunts, like when you're really young and you have that cool older girl that you like look up to. And I remember mine, her name was Destiny. Yeah, she was so cool to me. She like embodied her feminine and I loved her.
What a great name, Destiny. Somewhere that is a Britney Spears perfume.
Probably.
Like,
basically, I love talking about the feminine is because I think for a very long time, I did not operate in my feminine, and I because I had to like provide independently and was so focused on like surviving that I didn't focus on receiving. And that's not necessarily like receiving physical things that people are giving you in life. That's just like receiving a state of being. And when you're in survival mode, as I was, I think kind of for a long time as a single mother. And then I think I started becoming in my feminine, and then I got into a relationship with my now husband, and then I was like, whoa, hold on, this is really weird, because like I'm operating as like two parental figures, like a mom and a dad, and it's really hard now to kind of let go of these reins and depend and receive. So that's why I love this topic, is because since having Lockie, and he's over a year and a half now, it's been this long road of just allowing myself to embody my feminine.
I love all of what you said because it is about receiving. Femininity is all about receiving. And as I have shifted gears and realized how much of a survival mindset I've been living in for, gosh, probably most of my life. That sounded so Minnesotan. Most of my life. Oh gosh. So for most of my life, no, I
love it.
I have been operating in survival mode, and that is a killer of femininity or feminine energy. And one of the things that I have felt very, I guess you could say, wooed to do in my healing journey has been to buy more dresses, or to actually do my hair, or do my nails, go out and get my nails done, because you want to know what? I'm worthy of that. And I think for me, the biggest thing, it was always like financially driven. It was always seen as an indulgent behavior or thing. And I really had to intentionally break that mindset for myself of, no, I'm more than worthy of going and spending money to get my hair done. I'm more than willing and worthy to have someone in my community like perform a service for me just because.
Oh, that's so good, because you literally just called out something that I'm like still healing in, and I don't know why, but like I find it a little selfish to like go pay a service to get my nails done, where I'm like, let me just do it myself. And I'm robbing myself of embodying that feeling, embodying the being of like letting someone cater, receiving. That's yeah, I'm working on that.
So
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that.
When was the last time you went and got your nails done?
Like for my wedding, a year and a half ago.
That was okay. That's on your bucket list for this week.
I'm doing that. I'm gonna go get. But there is a valid reason to it. It's because they always like ruin my nails after.
Oh, yeah.
So I genuinely prefer to have healthier nails. I can just go get nail polish,
Or
I don't
even
have
just
to
go get a pedicure. Like,
Yeah.
even just getting your toes done.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a mindset. It's a mindset of even like going to buy yourself clothes and not thinking of like which coupons you can get.
No, but like
before you go and buy those clothes, I do that.
You cut your own hair too.
I do, and I color it now too.
I mean, kudos, because it literally looks incredible. And when you told me that you cut your own hair, I was shocked because it's literally so good.
But all you do is just cut a straight line. But
I cannot trust myself with that kind of responsibility.
I actually enjoy it. But
oh yeah, no, I had one instance. Actually, I've had many instances of trauma bangs, but over my life.
Me too.
But I remember being like 4 and just going with some like kids Fiskars scissors in the mirror, and my mom bursts in the door and she's screaming, and I'm like, I think I look great, Mom. I look hot. That also brings up, this is so unrelated. I had this little toy it was like a math toy, because my parents had to incentivize me to enjoy math. That's how much I hate math. Anyway, you could like customize what your name was on this thing. And I put mine as Hot Stuff. So every time that I turned it on, it said, "Hello, Hot Stuff."
Wait, like a digital calculator?
No, it looked kind of like a Bop It, but it was like a cylinder, and it was a math. I don't know. I want to say it was called like a Math Shark. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
I bet someone listening remembers what this is, but that's
I'm
so funny.
sure. I'm sure.
Hot Stuff.
I'm pretty sure I got it at like this store called Creative Kid Stuff. I don't know if that's a national thing back then, but it was a time to be alive. But yeah, no, my name was Hot Stuff. So I will be only answering to that from now on.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I remember like when I thought it was so cool to call myself like hot and sexy girl and like, ew. Like
I know. Now you're like, ick. If anyone called me sexy, I'd be like, immediately no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that kind of goes back to this idea of femininity as well, because I remember when you and I were first having this conversation about introducing this, when I was researching it, everything was like seductress and like this kind of really twisted, dark portrayal of what femininity should be. But no, femininity, I heard it said, I was listening to a podcast earlier, and it was Amanda Ferguson, and she said, femininity is defined as soft power. And I liked that. Or no, she said it was tender power. It's tender power. And I really resonated with that because it's embodying what being meek is. It's having that sword of, I could literally, like, I have all of the power that I need, but I'm going to keep it sheathed because I don't need to bring it out. I trust, well, for me, it's like I trust that God is going to provide for me and protect me. And because of the way that I am created, I'm afforded the opportunity and the blessing of operating in my womanhood and in my femininity because it's my design. And I think that that's what's really beautiful about learning how to be more feminine as well.
So when you say that, like my mind goes into so many different directions because this kind of is like, it's a philosophical topic. It's not just like a one right way or another way, because if you look at women, like, first of all, women have so many different styles, so many different type of personalities, so many different like more dark, moody features, and then more light and playful. And they all can still embody feminine. And I think it goes down more, like the most to the core of being able to receive and like the path of least resistance, where like you don't feel like you need to control anything, where you accept and receive good things and you like soak up positivity, joy, and then you also like you give those things out into the world too. Like if you're truly soaking it up, you're giving it back into the world. Whereas if it's just like a personality trait or like a look or like a portrayal, you know, of who you're trying to be, you're not going to genuinely soak it up. You're just going to give from an empty cup of what you think you're embodying in your feminine. But I've heard it said, and I love it. It's that like argumentative women, good argumentative lawyers are still embodying their feminine. Women who, you know, dress gothic and dark, moody, they can still be embodying their feminine. It's just at the core of like what they are absorbing into their heart, into their mind, their soul, and then what they're giving out back into the world.
That's so good. I never thought of it that way. I think that that's, again, one of those things where it's like a societal portrayal of what is femininity. And I guess it's like femininity is in the eye of the perceiver.
Yeah.
It's
when I think of the word femininity, I think of pink, I think of skirts, I think of girly girl. When I think of like embodying your divine feminine, like who you were created to be, I think it's so much deeper than that. I think it's being able to depend on others without feeling guilty or selfish. I think it's like in a relationship, I feel like our feminine comes out a lot in relationships too. That's being able to be in a relationship where you don't feel like you have to mother someone, where you don't feel like you have to try to solve someone, you know, your man's problems. That's just like fully leaning on his masculine and trusting that like you're in your feminine.
100%. I could not agree more. I heard it said in one of these podcasts too that a feminine woman influences others and makes them better. She benefits whoever she is around. She has transformational relationships, not transactional ones. There is something attractive to her, and they were talking about how a feminine woman, when she walks into the room, or with high feminine energy, when she walks into the room, you know, like she's got it. She's got that it factor. It's that tender strength.
Who comes to your mind when you think of someone?
Olivia Pope.
Shut up.
Is that what you were going to say too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's not all pink and like ditzy and playful. She has, you know, what some may think are like masculine personality traits, but no, like she's it.
I think when I think of femininity, as far as what that looks like aesthetically, I think it's just being put together. Like it's just clean. It's orderly. It's tidy. It doesn't look messy. You don't look like you just rolled out of bed.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you know just as well as I do, I've had those gothic, like, you know, identities over the past, and you know, I'm moody, and I guess part of operating in my feminine is empowering whatever version of me that looks like today, and honoring whatever that's bringing to the table for me today. And it's so funny that we both thought of Olivia Pope, though.
I thought you were going to say Elle Woods, and I was going to be like, Olivia Pope.
I mean, or Clarice Gerald Rinaldi, Queen of Genovia. She was a baddie. I dubbed thee Bruce McIntosh, the Order of the Rose. I need to not I need to not. Anyway, okay.
So it's like when I picture a woman embodying her feminine, I don't actually like have an idealistic view of what they wear, what they look like, their hair. I see confidence. I see like resilience, but also being able to have boundaries, stand up for yourself, and receive and like let yourself be treated so well and not take anything less than that. And not even, you don't have to be snarky about it. Like it, you actually, ironically, I feel like a lot of women who embody that, they don't even have to speak because they won't even be treated that way because like they won't allow it.
They know their worth.
Yeah. So they wouldn't even put themselves in that position.
I think that it's about, so Amanda Ferguson talked about too, that it's a feminine woman doesn't ask the question how, but who, because she's perfectly capable of doing something. Like, and then she was talking about how so many women it's ingrained in them that anything a man can do, I can do too. And she's like, 100%. But should you? No, because you weren't built that way. You weren't, it's not sustainable for you. And that doesn't mean that you're not strong. I think it's actually the exact opposite, where when you're allowing yourself to be completely vulnerable and to receive, that is a strength that is unmatched to me. But when this who not how is all about pulling in people from your community and delegating things, because a woman that's operating in a very masculine energy, in a very survival mode mentality, is going to say, I have to take all of this on myself. I can't trust anybody. I have to take all of it. And that's not it.
I have chills because I remember being that as a single mother.
Well, because you're in survival mode at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
remember even doing it like a year ago.
Yeah, I did it a week ago.
It's a mindset that takes time and work to get out of. But luckily, it's easy. Like if you start to, like, it's not like it takes weeks or months to embody your feminine. It takes right now.
Yeah.
And so I also think that being in your feminine, you have very strong intuition.
Yeah.
And you trust your intuition, and then you can be vulnerable.
Let's kind of get into that. So when you think of a woman's intuition, what does that mean for you?
I mean, first thing that comes to my head is like listening to your gut, listening to your body, being so in tune with your body.
I agree. I think for me, it's listening to the Holy Spirit, or listening to that other presence that's like bigger than me. I think it's about the one thing that I'm trusting to protect me.
Yeah.
In all of that I'm okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've really been telling myself a lot lately, is no matter what, I'm going to be okay. It's like in the book of Matthew when he's talking about dressing the lilies, like how much more will he provide for you? How much more will he provide for you as a woman that, or as a spirit that he chose for femininity, or for a woman's body. And that's kind of really shifted my perception of this too, of this is an honor that I get to embrace receiving. This is something that was actually chosen for me and designed for me. And it's an honor, and I'm actually glorifying God in being feminine and doing things that help lift that part of me up and grow that part of me instead of operating in a survival mentality, because I can't think of one part in the Bible that's like, figure this out yourself. You're on your own, kid. Like, I don't think of that at all.
Yeah.
So I don't really subscribe to that mentality of needing to be in a survival or lack mindset.
Well, and when you listen to your intuition and you trust, you don't feel like you need to have control.
No. That's so hard for me, though. It's so hard. I remember asking you one time, like, how do you let things go?
I've had to really like let go of the fear or the concept of not being understood, and allowing myself to feel okay and allowing myself to feel regulated even when I know someone has misunderstood me. And how I feel like I really, really, because now in a situation when that has come up, I like don't even care. I exhaust no emotional energy, no tears. What I really tell myself is whatever is meant for me will not pass me by. And that's the same thing as like trusting that like God's got you. What's for you will be for you. And that's not an excuse to go do whatever you want and be a jerk. And no, that's just trusting that like, as long as I'm leaning on him and loving and being the best person I can be, like everything else will be taken care of. And really, like, I think sometimes thinking of, I read this book called, I think it was Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. The very last chapter was about death.
My favorite
like,
topic. No.
Like, weirdly enough, that really just brought it to the perspective of like, you get one life. Like, are we really going to spend it worrying and stressing over things we cannot control? Or are we just going to absorb all the good and amazing things God has in store for us that we don't even know about yet? And just trust that, like, he has been faithful in the past. He will be faithful in the future. And no matter what, it is well.
That's so good.
That's how I've learned to let go.
I think for me right now, it's understanding, or it's willingly laying myself down and what I want down and saying, I get to spend eternity with you. Use me how you want to in this life, or use me how you want to here. And that's how I'm getting through this time in my life, in this uncertainty, and a time where every other voice in my life outside of my faith community is telling me, you need to double down, like you need to get a second job and you need to build your finances back up because you're starting over completely. And, you know, I think that there's some wisdom in that, but I also know that how much more will he provide for me? He's seen what I've gone through, and like, he'll provide. I don't need to sit here and try to make up a plan to compensate for what's lacking in my life, because you want to know what that's going to do. It's going to drain me. He chose me in this form so that he could provide for me.
Yeah. I have chills. I mean, and when you think about it, like, you said something about God, use me however you want to. Well, think about that statement. How do you think God wants to use you? He wants you to spread joy and love into the world. And in order for you to do that, you need to be able to receive. You need to be able to experience the state of happiness, which is not wrong. That's not unbiblical. God has prosperity for you. He has, and when I say prosperity, I don't mean like to be the richest person alive. but to be rich in joy, peace, and to live like there's nothing wrong with living a happy life.
We're supposed to.
Yeah.
We're supposed, like, our life is supposed to reflect his goodness. And it's supposed to reflect who he is. And he doesn't struggle.
Yeah, I actually saw someone post like a story the other day, and it was like, God never promised you happiness, and but he only promised you peace. And I remember thinking, like, well, yes, like that there's nothing wrong with that, but it also makes it sound like you can't strive to be in a happy place. And who wouldn't want that for their child?
I think with that, it's about not making happiness an idol. It's not actively like pursuing happiness as an end all be all. It's embracing it when it's here and being grateful when it's here, but also embracing any other emotion that comes along too. It's like that, I don't know if you saw it, that clip of Amanda Cook where she's talking about grief, and she's talking about how there's no such thing as a bad emotion.
I haven't seen it, but I agreed. Yeah.
Oh, it's so, I'll have to send it to you. It's
I just
so
think
good.
it puts like a shameful and like a taboo, shameful association to wanting to be happy and feeling like God doesn't care about your happiness. And I think that's just... He desires for us to be happy, but sometimes he will allow us to endure hardship so that our happiness and joy can be magnified later and amplified later. Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost like shameful to say like, no, he doesn't want you to be happy, but like you don't get to happy unless you've experienced pain. So it's like it makes you almost feel like you have to stay in pain and be at peace with it. But no, that sounds miserable. And I would not think any father would want that for their child.
I remember in one of the small groups that I'm in, a woman came and she's like, she was telling her story, and she was talking about how she grew up in a very fundamental Christian church and her entire family operates in that still. And she said her parents fully believed that this life was about suffering for Jesus, and that the next one was all about happiness. And she said it took me forever to understand that that is not true. And
that is so sad.
No, it's Ephesians 3:20. It's he came to give us life and life exceedingly abundantly more. And that means more happiness, more joy, more good here and now. Because like I said earlier, it's all about reflecting him back to the world. And
I don't remember Jesus coming down to make everyone suffer.
No, he came back. He came to redeem creation, not like not condemn it, not say you don't get to be happy because you committed adultery.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, embracing joy. I think that's such a huge feminine state of being. Like when I another thing I think of when I think of embodying feminism, like for me, I want to hear what it looks like for you, because for me lately it's been about indulging in like boho attire. I've even gotten like these really cute hippie earrings, and just not because I think they look feminine, but because they make me feel like free. They make me feel like I can just enjoy life, be a little bit more playful, carefree, not stress about the cleaning and the cooking, but be present with my kids, joke with my husband, love on him, have good conversations with friends, and just like be present in the moment.
That's so good. One of the things that I started doing was on Sundays specifically, I will get really dressed up for church. I will do my hair. I will put on a really nice outfit and I'll put jewelry on. And it's so funny that you talked about earrings because I've been wearing a lot more jewelry lately. And that too has really helped me kind of shift more into that mindset too. And I think for me, kind of going back on what I said earlier, I never bought jewelry before because it wasn't a necessary purchase.
Me too.
And so when I'm wearing earrings or when I'm wearing a new bracelet that I bought or I'm wearing shoes that aren't, multi-purpose shoes, I'm literally wearing the things that drug me down before, or the things it's like my, for lack of a better phrase, it's like my middle finger to that part of me that believes that
Yeah.
I'm being indulgent or frivolous, because you want to know what? If I am, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I want to break that piece off of me and say, I get to do this. And so I have so started to look forward to Sundays now, because I'm like, I'm going to do my hair really pretty, and then I go and get my nails, or I go get my toes done the other day. So it was like 2 weeks ago, and I'm wearing a dress and everything, and I'm, putting my toes in and pick out this really pretty raspberry color for my toes. And the guy doing my toenails asked me, "Are you a teacher?" He's like, "You look like a teacher." And I'm
Aww, like, that's a compliment.
Yeah. I said, "Do you want to know what? So many people have told me that in my life."
You do. I think because you just have such a soft and nurturing vibe about you. Like, that's just, to me, you're soft and nurturing. And
that kind of brings up a really good point for me. You can't, people talk about having your cup filled. Well, one thing that I've learned in this season of my life too is you can't extend anything that you don't receive for yourself first. So in order to be a nurturing woman, I have to receive nurturing, and I have to, in order to be more merciful, I have to receive mercy. In order, you have to get it before you can give it. And for me, that's looked like, in order to affirm other people or other women in their beauty or whatever, I think that I first have to affirm my own, and then that way I'm not looking at it as their competition.
Comparison.
Yeah, and I think that that's where that comes from too. It's survival. It's, I have to beat that woman to that punch, or if I don't take care of myself, she's gonna come and get my back. And it's like women in prison.
Yeah.
No.
There's enough success and enough beauty for all women. And I think another quality of being in our feminine is encouraging that in other women too. And that looks like empowering women, like you said. That looks like allowing people, them to have their success without feeling like you need to raise yours. If anything, you're inspired by it. And as like I think that's a big part of me with men and women. Like, I love rooting on and inspiring men and women. But as far as like feminine, it's sometimes I think what can be such a big growth factor for us is looking into the areas where we're insecure in ourselves and seeing if that's somewhere where we compare ourselves to other women, and then becoming aware, like, hey, let me work on this. And I think one way we can work on our own insecurity is by first going out and applauding women and being inspired by them. And I think full circle will come around into growing out of our own insecurity, whatever it may be.
I think that's kind of the stage that I'm in right now.
I think it's something that can continue.
Yeah,
life.
And I think that a lot of my insecurity has been conditioned in me over time, through, really toxic relationships with women in my past and things like that. And I know that that's not a unique experience. I know that a lot of women deal with that, but it is something that it is a mindset that can be broken, and it should be, you know? And I think that really embracing your feminine energy means that you're going into a relationship or you're going into your community and saying, what value can I add, not what can I get out of this? You know, I think that going into a space or going into your day of saying, how can this benefit me, that's not being feminine. I don't think.
No, yeah, that's like a different type of receiving. That's greed.
Well, yeah, and it's really
lack.
selfish.
Yeah.
It's that lack mindset
Lack.
of what can I get out of this because I don't have enough anyway, or I don't have enough, so I need to get more and take more. It's like that age-old phrase, it takes a village. When I think of that, I think of a village of women coming together and raising children and taking care of one another. That is womanhood. That is femininity. That's making sure that everyone's taken care of. And I think that modern society really is missing that.
Well, I think America is not really built for it.
No, it's not.
Our lifestyle is not. Where I'm from, Moldova, it 100% is. Even like growing up with my extended cousins and relatives, like it did feel like a village back when I lived in California, but not here. And I read a book recently last week about our brain, and I read about how people in Italy, communities in Italy, while they eat some of the most unhealthiest foods, have coffee every day, have wine every day, they tend to have a lot less chronic illness, not necessarily because of the quality of the food, but they've found, like, they have studies about community, and people are after dinner walking around dancing with their neighbors, like their brain, they're happier, they're mentally healthier, and having that community is so important. And I don't feel like I necessarily have the community I desire, and I know it's on my part, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there right now. I feel like I'm just allowing myself to de-stress and break off a lot of the things that don't make me feel at peace. But that's something I want to, lean into more physically, because a lot of my community and a lot of my friends live all over the world. My closest friends live all over the world, and it's so hard. It's so hard because I want to grab a cup of tea with you and have a conversation till midnight.
Oh, it's coming.
I know, it's just
coming. but no, I totally get what you're saying, and I could not agree more with it. I think it's hard. It's one of those things that's like so beautiful about living in a digital and technological age, but it's also, I think, the thing that's the most harmful about it. It's that the people that you want to be connected with the most are so far away, and that part's hard. But
I know we've talked about it once upon a time about how, like, we're not meant to take on as much as we do because we have access to so much information through our phones. And I think that's also one of, like, on my list here I had, what do you think are killers to feminine energy? I think that's a killer to feminine energy because it makes you so available to everything. And that's one of the things, when you embody feminine energy, you're not available to everything. You're available to the things that give you peace.
What would Olivia Pope do?
She'd walk away.
She would not sweat the small stuff. I love the phrase mental real estate. I used that in one of my small groups like a week ago. And the woman that I was talking to, she's like, I've never heard that before. And I'm like, what rock have you been living under, first of all? But also, that's okay. I'm here to enlighten you. But it's about, it's kind of like that phrase, like picking your battles. Choosing your battles. I don't think that we're supposed to consume as much. And, a lot of people will call it ignorance on my behalf, but I don't watch the news. I don't really listen to it, because you want to know what? If I need to really know something, it's going to be talked about enough around me that I can be like, I should probably look into that. If that's not the case, I don't need to know about, stocks plummeting or all of those things.
Yeah.
That's not going to be good for me. And, you know, I'd rather read my book and embrace a posture of receiving and embrace that mindset of no matter what, I'm going to be okay. You know?
Yeah.
I think that that's where life looks different for men or masculine energy, because they're the ones who are supposed to take that on, I think. And they're the ones who are supposed to, their minds are more geared towards that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I have no idea. I say we get my husband on here and he can tell us. You know,
It's valid though, because I think that Matt's been so great about drawing that feminine out of you because he is a masculine man.
agreed. Oh my God, agreed.
Because you went from, like, you made a total 360. Because I remember when you lived in the same apartment complex as me, and you were like, I'm independent, like I can do anything, I don't need no man. And I was like, amen, you know, no you don't. And you didn't. I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about you. It's that you've highlighted that you don't need a man to do anything.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have been allowed to not have to wear those hats that prevented me from stepping into it. And I think there are women who do it so well, and props to them because it's hard. But I think when we speak about feminine embodiment, like our whole conversation today has been about like us independently as women. And I think there's so much more that goes into it when you're in a relationship. And I think that's a whole nother topic. I think that would be a really fun one. And we can have that whatever.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
open
know.
to it.
One day, maybe we can have that conversation. And then I think there's also so much to say and have like someone who can speak on behalf of masculine energy from like a man's point of view, not from like the masculine energy that we women carry, but from a male's point of view, because I think that will open our eyes onto how we can lean into our own feminine more.
Yeah, totally.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that episode. When's that one dropping?
Which one, the second or the third?
All of it. All of the above. I love it all.
Soon, maybe. I think, you know what we should do? I think it'd be really cool to like kind of reflect and think, what's one new way we can step into embodying our feminine that we haven't already, like this week or just moving forward? What's something that we haven't been doing that we can?
I think for me, this is something that I think I've been trying to operate in all of those things like that I kind of talked about. Like I started doing my nails and taking care of myself externally and physically. And I think just because that's not something that is natural to me yet. But one of the things that my therapist asked me in my last session was, so what are you working on right now? And I was like, I really struggle with making short-term goals. So how I think embracing my femininity now is not looking so far ahead. It's what can I do for myself today or tomorrow? And how can I show up for myself in that way or do something that brings me joy? I think that that's what my answer would be to that question.
That's good. I can relate. I think
You have more goals than anybody I've ever met in my life. I aspire
Well,
to that.
I think that mine is like, which goals can I shut down right now? No, mine is about rest. What ways can I intentionally allow myself to rest during the day where I don't feel guilty about it, where I don't feel like I have to be paying attention to the kids or doing something with the home or the garden or whatever, it is genuinely taking care of myself and something that brings me joy, not something to prevent, illness or whatever, but just something that like makes me happy in the moment. So I think that's what I want to work more on for me.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
This was a great conversation. I needed it right now in my life. This is what I needed.
did too. And I think the one thing that I love about us or our conversations, and this is tried and true, is that you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, cue No Air by Jordan Sparks. That can be our outro in spirit.
No air.
Can't live, can't breathe with no air.
No air.
No air.
I don't think anyone needed to hear that. All right, guys.
Yeah, on that note.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.